Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego. Review those amazing bricks of plastic and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? We are back again with part number 2 of Ninjago Summer Wave Dragons Rising 2023. Oh my god, that was a mouthful. That's exactly what we're talking about today. We've got 3 more sets that we're going to discuss because they are, they're kind of time intensive, a lot going on. However, by the time this show goes out, it'll be Memorial Day here in the United States, Remembrance Day. And so before we kick off, we're going to take a quick moment of silence, and I hope you guys will join me in doing so. So, Memorial Day, before we really get going. Memorial Day is a big deal to me. I've lost a few friends over the years, both in military duty and then with effects after the military. So Memorial Day is a very close day in my heart. It always will be, probably until the day that I die. And I know a bunch of you out there that are veterans yourselves have gone through similar things with the loss of very close, brothers and sisters in arms. So anyway, hopefully your day is okay and pour one out for them. Anyway, moving on, before I make myself cry, we're going to move on to the first Ninjago set. Today, it is 71792. It is Sora's Transforming Mech Bike Racer. What is up with all these long titles, dude? Just like, y'all are killing me with this. Now, the great thing about this, let's get to the other things that are important. 384 pieces. It's going to retail for $48 and 48 euros. Seems a little steep, right? You'll see why here in a little bit. However, the great thing about this is not only does it transform, which is, I thought after the Optimus Prime stuff, I'm like, clearly they've got that guy on staff. So clearly they're going to find a way to do even more stuff. And this one and the next one are actually kind of unique in their own way of transforming. However, it's not that is the big deal here. It's the fact that you are getting the 2 of the new ninja. You're getting Sora and you're getting Aaron. You also get the Ryu, the little baby dragon in here. But we also have our bad guy. We finally get a new bad guy that everybody was like, wait. Is that one of the Time Twins from season 7? No, it's not. So this guy's name is Raptin. And Raptin has that hairpiece from Chronix? I think it was a Chronix. No, it was Crux. I can't remember. Anyway, pretty sure it was Crux. So let's go through minifigs real quick here, and we'll work through all of that. He has a white hair piece here. He has 2 faces. Believe it or not, he has one where his mouth is open, and you can see some really sharp teeth in there. So he's clearly not a human. He's kind of some kind of humanoid maybe. And then he has a normal kind of mouth closed face on the other side. He doesn't have normal eyes. He's got some kind of scanner visor. Reminds me of Star Trek a long time ago, for where his eyes are supposed to be. He has black pauldrons on that have the little hook type point on them. He comes with the new dual molded sword piece, which we have talked about already. And the printing that is on his chest, back, and legs is identical to a few of our bad warriors that we have seen before. So moving on to our ninja. Our new ninja, which I can't wait to see what this is going to look like. Sora comes with a very new, interesting dual molded piece for her hair and top of her, ninja uniform head wrap thing. And it's still the same idea as the others, except hers has some hair in the front, the pink hair that she's got going on. And it looks like cat ears is what it is. You get some pink in there in the ears. But depending on how you look at it, it almost looks like it could be a snake or something like that, from early Ninjago. However, I'm sure it's pretty not the case. So she has one face where she's kind of intense, and then the other side, her eyes are glowing pink, which is really weird. I can't wait to see what that's all about. Her printing is really nice. She's got all the ninjas have their own unique mark in the writing of the ninja, so I'm curious to see what hers is here. So she has a golden arm on one side and she has white on the other. She comes with the 2 gold katanas as well. Her printing is really nice because it stands out on the white with the pink and the gold and the blue. It just stands out really, really well. And there's obviously printing on the back, but that is covered up by that entire piece that's holding the swords in the rear. Now we move on to Aaron. Aaron is interesting as well. Aaron only has one face, and it's okay. But I wish there was a dual face on here. He does have a dual molded helmet piece as well, except he has horns that are sticking out in the front, golden horns, which is kind of interesting to say the least. Anyway, he's in that flamish yellowish orange color. He has that one arm in that color, and then he has just a regular orange arm. But he comes with the 2 katanas in the rear of his in his back, and then he comes with this new what looks like something you would shoot up onto a building, and a grapple. There's the word I was looking for. Like a grapple, but also it kind of looks like an anchor. I'm not really sure what this is, but this is a new piece. It's that soft rubbery stuff, and I think it's just meant to be, I'll be curious to see how it works. I don't really know. Anyway, then we move on to Rapton's vehicle, and Rapton's vehicle is this little flying vehicle. It's actually kind of cool looking. Very simple build, very not complex at all, but a nice little addition to the little bad guy vehicles. So I was impressed by this. So in the front, there's a Nexonite shield. We've got some stickers there. You got these little black wings that are sticking off the front here. They almost look like something you would see on a Typhoon fighter jet. It's got some handlebars here with which he is controlling, some katanas that are on the side for some detail. They can actually flare out to the sides because they're clipped into place, or you can actually have them go completely out front and, kind of pierce your enemy that way. I don't know. That sounds a little crude. So then just to the rear of the seat, because there's not a whole lot else here, there are 4 stud shooters that they have going on. Now, the nice thing is they're on angled pieces that you can have them come down at a very sharp angle, or you can have them grouped up top together, 4 next to each other to be able to shoot, or you can do, a different combination, however you so choose to be able to play with this. I like this little thing. I think it's a nice little vehicle to get to be able to enjoy extra, and obviously it's a flying machine of some kind, and all in comparison to this mech, it's like the size of an annoying bird. Like here in Texas, the mockingbirds, they're always at you if you're near their clutch of eggs. Kind of reminds me of that in similar fashion to a certain degree, which is kind of funny. Like it's just kind of buzzing around you. Anyway, let's move on to the mech. The mech is very interesting. The idea that it transforms is very bizarre. And just the way that this thing is kind of built is almost kind of chunky. And depending how you want to put it, you could say, oh, it's kind of ugly. Well, I mean, everybody's got their own opinions. I'm not going to go that far. Don't yell at me. No, I'm kidding. And look at that. See, something just popped off again. It's because I didn't have it on tight enough. I've been moving my mechs everywhere. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about just the mech itself. The nice thing about this is we do get a lot of color with it. You have that dark blue, and then you have the teal colored pink. Whatever. But I love the way that's done, plus all of the white. The feet do not have any rubber on the bottom, but they actually do support this thing. You can actually put it further in a backwards pose, and it does hold, which is really nice. Now, you do have 2 wheels that are on the inside of the knee. They are locked knees, stickers on the exterior of this thing, and then some Nexonite shields in the center where the thighs would be. Stickers yet again, of course. So knees are locked. You have joints at the hips that they rotate completely around. As far as you can get them, you have to move the arms to a certain degree, and they can splay out, and there's a big reason for that, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. Moving up to the shoulders and the arms can actually be moved. They're on just angled little brackets here, the 1x2 plates that are hinged in the middle. So you do have that, so you get good flex in the elbow, plus it's on a ball joint for the shoulder, so you can get these things raised up, kind of like I don't know, some kind of silliness with weapons. You got them like raised way up. It reminds me a little bit of like Transformers or something like that to a certain degree. I know it's transforming, but that's not what the point I was getting at. Anyway, so there are dual stud shooters on each of the hands. There are 2 little clips that are on the outside, so that on the exterior of the hands there, so that you can, put some things in there. There are 2 little weapon swords that come with this that are on the rear end of what is the transforming bike. We'll talk about that here in a second. But let's get up to where essentially the cockpit is of this vehicle. There is a tire that is in the front. By the way, all 3 of these tires are gold rims in the center, and just one thin rubber piece of wheel tire around the outside. These are molded together, so it's not like you can take them apart. Now, just behind that, we have this little kitty. Again, her costume, her gi that she's wearing, her identity of, having the cat ears and stuff like that. So you have kind of an angry cat face that's going on here in the pink sticker yet again. Some stickers that are on the side and some pink on some tiles. Inside, the cockpit is kind of bare and naked. There's no control in here, which I thought was really interesting. Could have done something, I think. Just give me a tiny handle. Anyway, there is enough room for her to lay back in, and it actually does fit quite well. Now, moving to the rear, we have just some more sloping going on back here, some more stickers, of course, and then we have the 2 giant katanas that are used for, usually they're put in the hands of mechs, or, you use them as like extra feathers on wings or something like that. They're the really long ones, but they're fairly skinny overall. So you can use those. And then just down below that, we have these little poles that are attached here. Usually they're used as like staffs, as a weapon or something like that. And they have some clipped plates on here with some tiles that have some stickers of, her logo, I guess you could call it. And then just inside of that area, we have the exhaust, the jet flame or whatever it is to the motorcycle. All right, so the transforming function of this is very simple. Like I said, you kind of have those click joints for the legs, for the hip joint. You just rotate those backwards, and then where the foot is, the front part of the foot, it is at a ball joint to the rear of that. You just flip those up. The arms, they are intentionally, like I said, remember, you can kind of kick your shoulders way out and hold your arms way up. The reason for that is so that you can get the legs back, and then you can get the arms forward so that you can have the shooters right next to the bike, or you want to point it up towards the sky or closer to the ground. Either way, you can get this in a pretty good, sharp-looking stance. It's completely up to you and how you so choose to do it. I really like the bike. I think it's a nice, different kind of motorcycle build that we have seen in Ninjago. We have seen a bunch of them. The one on the last wave with the giant tires definitely was not a big fan of, just because it was too bulky to fit that mech on there. It was like a mech bike. I get it. Only thing I don't really like about this is everything feels loose. Nothing really feels like it's locked into place, which at times it just feels like things are going to fall off, or almost like they're going to shake off or move out of position. For a motorcycle, it's fine that it transforms. It's something different. Kids are going to love it. For me, I would prefer it to be more solid than what this is, but that's just a tiny gripe of mine. So overall, I think it's pretty good. I don't like the price point whatsoever. We've seen sets around this 400 part price before, and they usually go for $40. I'm not a big fan of this price point at all. And I know costs have gone up and stuff, and you have definitely seen it in the price of sets rising, but definitely not a fan of that at all. All right, moving on to the next set here. We have the Heat Wave Transforming Lava Dragon 71793 is its set number 479 pieces. Retails for $55 here in the United States and 53 euros. Still seems a little high. Would have been a good $50 set. $5 isn't the end of the world. Still feels cheaper in comparison to the last one that we just did. Anyway, so we have a number of ninja in here. I should say a number of ninja. We have Kai, we have Lloyd, which we have already touched on both of them. And we have a new person here. We have Wildfire, which we'll talk about in a moment, Lord Raz, and the Imperium Claw Hunter. All right. So I guess we'll start with Wildfire. Let's get Wildfire here. So she comes with the blasters in her hands, with that trans orange color that, you pull them or push on them and they shoot out of your hands. Always nice to be able to get something like that. Even if it's not incredibly cool, it's just a little bit of a weapon. Anyway, new character here. I don't know anything about Wildfire. I'll be curious to see when the new season drops here in a matter of, 5 days. So she has a brand new hairpiece. There are horns that are up here. She has a red hairpiece, by the way, and it's kind of flows out at the bottom, her hair. Not bad. I kind of like the way that is done. She has a single face. She's got red eyebrows, by the way. She's got an angry face that's going on. She has dark red legs, and she's got that sand green top. Printing is okay on this. Something just seems to be missing on the front. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way her robe is kind of half open and there's some other garment that's under there. It feels too much like the bottom of a Nexo Knight shield. You know how it comes to that angle. I don't know. There's something askew there for me. I'm sure it's just in my head, but whatever. So Lord Raz, we've already talked about Lord Raz just a little bit. Anyway, so let's get more specific into him. He has the gold shoulder pauldrons that have the little hook on it. I like his print, actually, probably more so than most. The whole way down to the toes. Nice little belt that he's got printed there. His new headpiece, of course, is incredible. He kind of looks like some kind of wolf. Looks like a bad guy on Power Rangers or something like that. One of those monsters that gets created. Anyway, the eyes are really nicely done, and the purple printing just above on the forehead is actually pretty sharp too. He does come with a weapon. It almost looks like Cole's hammer. They use some gold roller skates in here with some trans orange cheese wedge pieces, which that's nice to see. Just given that extra incentive for somebody to be like, you know what, I'm going to get this. Well, I mean, those pieces are dime a dozen, so don't buy the set just for that. Or I guess do buy the set just for that. Anyway, we move on to the Imperium Claw Hunter. We've got that weird looking head with the horns, or the helmet, I should say, with the kind of the samurai helmet sticking out of the top. Really funky. In this piece is in gold. His pauldrons are in gold, just like the last one that we talked about, identically. And then he has that gold body with the printing on it. It's pretty nice. It comes with that new dual molded sword, which is, I really love the way that looks. It's just kind of sharp. So then we do have a little flyer here for Raz, and Raz's flyer is similar to the one that we did in the last set, except it doesn't have as much maneuverability. In the very front of this thing, there are 4 giant claws that are sticking forward. Just makes it kind of intimidating to look at. As you move back, Nexo Knight shield, same idea as building in the front as the last little flyer, stickers, little wings on the side. At least this has some controls that are here. They use the water pistol that I don't think that's the same one, but like a water pistol here that they use here in gold. There are 2 of them as your controls, left and right hand. Underneath the center of that, you do have this ability to spin because it's on a turntable. It has what I guess is supposed to be his propulsion. And it's nice because what it does do is it actually sits on that. Nothing else touches the ground. And you can spin it around, have a little bit of fun with it. To the rear of this section, we have some orange lights that are in the back. And we have, I don't remember now. I tend to be a person that keeps the extra tiles or the extra studs to shoot. I usually tend to find an open stud somewhere and just stack them up. So I'm not sure if I did that or not. I don't think so. Maybe I did. Anyway, it has 2 stud shooters. The only difference here is they are not posable. They are locked into place on the side, kind of sitting flat to shoot. So let's go ahead and talk about the dragon. This dragon is a mid-sized dragon. It's not top tier or anything like that, but it is really sharp. Now it does have two different builds to it. I guess you could say two different modes to it, which is incredible. But before we get changing modes, let's go ahead and talk about what the dragon has to offer. Now, this is a dark red dragon. Everything is pretty much dark red and gold on here. We do have kind of like a nougaty flesh tone color, which is kind of unique. It's offsetting a little bit. Bunch of stickers on this in the chest, around the neck, on top of the head, but the eyes are printed, which we'll talk about it here in a moment. Overall, it's a pretty nice idea that they have going on here. So let's talk about the legs in the front. Legs in the rear are pretty similar as well. All 4 feet are on a ball joint. There are 3 claws that can be moved up and down. The elbows are locked so that you cannot move them, or I guess the knees are locked. You can't move them. But up top at the shoulder joints, it goes out and it can go around. A lot of flexibility here, a lot of posability, which is always good in something that is pretty large. On the sides of the legs, there are some weapons, katanas, and the larger katanas that just act as, fierceness attached to the dragon, which is nice. It just gives a different scale to it. If they didn't have that, it would just be legs. It would look too much dark red. It wouldn't have looked all that great. Now, in the center of the chest, you have a bunch of stickers, of course. That's where you have that nougaty flesh color that's going on here. And then it comes with the new piece, the 2 new pieces, the little marble that we talked about. That's what I'm calling it. And then it's almost like an ice cream scoop. If you think of like an actual ice cream scoop, that's what this thing appears like it's sitting in. So there's a marble and an ice cream scoop. The marble is a purplish, bluish color. It's really nice in the way that is done. I love that color. And then it's sitting in that dark red scoop. Now the neck area and the chest area are actually built up pretty well. A lot of slopes that are used here, Nexonite shields and everything. As you move up past that part, the head and the neck are posable. So the neck is on click joints. It only goes to a certain part because it gets locked into place by bumping into some other pieces. Above that section, it is on a ball joint. It actually swivels 360 degrees up and down, has some pretty good function. You're going to dislocate your neck if you were this dragon. The jaw, we have it in that nougaty flesh color on the bottom. The jaw is open really, really far. It opens to that 90-degree angle. You got the dark red face up top for the upper jaw, skeleton, head, skull, whatever you want to call it, with some nice printing of the eyes here, some purple color. And then a bunch of little cheese wedge and trans red, just to give it like a flame feel. It has big horns that are sticking out the side of the head, which cannot be turned. They are actually locked into place with Technic pins, I believe, or axles. But the nice thing is you can actually hold on to those and you can open and close the jaw. So moving back behind the neck and the shoulders in the front, we move back to the center body. Center body is actually kind of skinny, but you can get your hands in here. The swords definitely kind of get in the way sometimes, but as a whole, you can get your hand in here and fly this puppy around. It does have a brick-built seat for your minifig to sit on the sides of the chest, because everything else is dark red, just a bunch of slopes. We have some more sloped pieces here, but in gold, and then we have a 2x2 tile in the gold that has some stickers on it, has a sticker. It's the same on each side. As we move further towards the butt end of this thing, we have a little horn that's sticking up in the middle of the top end of the back. I guess it's supposed to be a spine or something like that. There's actually 2 of them. Anywho, so then we move to the rear legs. The rear legs, they splay out. They can rotate 360 degrees. As we move down, the knees are locked and are actually kicked backwards quite a bit with a Technic beam here, just kind of odd to see. And then the ankles are exactly the same as the front one with the claws. The tail's on a ball joint as well, can rotate 360 degrees, has a lot of up and down depending how your down goes, because you can rotate your tail so that you either have the katana on the end of it facing up, or you want it facing down. It's completely up to you. Now let's talk about transforming function, because I'm sure that's what everybody is wanting to know. Great thing about this puppy is the transforming element is super simple. You click the front legs outward and you rotate them around 360 degrees and they are in the new position. That's it. That is it. Nothing else to do there. It's super easy because the feet are what? The feet are on ball joints. Real simple to do. The head, again, as well. Super easy to contort and move around. Nothing wild and crazy about it. And it's really fun to just kind of mess about with this thing. It feels like an old school Transformers bot that I used to play with as a kid. So then we kick the rear legs around, splay them out, and they're ready to go. You actually don't need to do any kind of rotation whatsoever on these dealios. So we've got our legs all back around in a different position. So now we have this, what was an underside of the dragon, now is on the back of this thing. We've got a lot of nougaty flesh color that's going on here with some tiling. And then now we have another seat that is on top. The great thing about this is the legs are in the same position, although they are slightly differed from the inside to the outside. All the katanas now are facing inward towards the body, or I should say in the inside of the body facing to the rear, but along the inside of the legs. So what we did is we flipped this thing around and the click joint that is on the neck is now at the bottom. It's not at the top. The ball joint is still in the same spot, but now the head is in a very downward kind of like attack position, and it's incredible. I love the way this is done. Now we get access to that marble and the ice cream scoop. There is a Technic piece here, and all it is doing is you are putting pressure on it and you are shooting this thing. Now, what I will tell you is I did have some problems shooting this at first, and the reason I had issues with it is because some of these pieces have a little bit of a very tight tolerance, and what ends up happening is the marble gets, when the first time you stick it in the ice cream scoop, it's kind of a little tight on some of them, not all of them, because on some of the sets that I built, I didn't have that issue at all. So, your mileage may vary on this kind of thing. Anyway, so really all I did to fix it is I just put the marble in and out of that piece repeatedly, 5 or 6 times, and it turned out just fine. So you press that down. I'm not going to launch this across the room here, but you hear the click and it's good, and you move on with your day. That shoots it actually quite a distance. So that is the dragon. I'm a big fan of the dragon. I think it's really, really cool. I love transforming things when they get them right. Doesn't mean that they always get them right, but when they get them right, they're solid. So the price point, I think, again, if it were at 50, I'd be 100% dead set sold. At the 55, it's not the end of the world, but it's pretty nice. The other thing that I'm not the biggest fan of with this thing is having all of those little katana pieces that are on the sides, in which are closer to the body now. It makes it a little bit more difficult to grab. The nice thing is what they did, remember I told you they have the 2x2 golden round tiles here that have the stickers. You can actually grab it from there on each side and basically hold it like that. So that is a plus. I don't know if that was a design feature or it was an accidental thing. Hey, look at what we were able to do here. So as a whole, I think it's a pretty good set. Not a whole lot of complaints about it. I think I love it just because it transforms and it gets into a really, really big time attack position, which we saw with the Hound that we talked about on the last episode. Some really cool stuff that they've done so far. Before we move on any further, we have to take a quick ad break. We'll be back in a moment. All right, so moving on to the last one here. This is Lloyd and Aaron's Ninja Team Mechs, which you'll find out why it's Team Mechs here. 71794 is the set number. It comes with 764 pieces, retails for $80 here in the United States and 85 euros. You're probably thinking, oh my God, it's actually not that bad of a price point for the part count. So, it's not the cheapest, but it's definitely up there within the range where it should be. So minifigs that we get in here, we get a number of them. Again, our Ninja, which we've already talked about. We already have Aaron and we have Lloyd. They are identical to the others that we talked about of them, so nothing big there. We also have Raptin. He comes with the same deal as he did in the last set, except I believe his pauldrons or gold there, and now they are just simply black. So, or 2 sets ago, I believe. Anyway, still nice to be able to get another bad guy here, even if it's a duplicate. Maybe you change the face on him and, come up with your own or something like that. Give him a new name. Maybe instead of Raptin, it's Captain. I don't know. That was a dad joke. So the other 2 we have seen as well. We have the Imperium Guard Commander and the Imperium General that we've got. Same kind of stuff. I'm not going to rehash these. The printing on those guys is identical, and simple, basic kind of things. Same head, same headpiece, all of that. Same weapons that they had before previously. What I want to do is I want to get to the mech, because it is a dual mech set, and it's actually a really fun mech set. It is something I did not honestly expect. When I built this thing, I was like, ooh, I really like this. This is really sharp. This is a lot of fun. I love little mechs. I've just got a really soft spot in my heart for mechs in general, but small mechs even more so. So this little small mech that is Aaron's mech is not anything wild and crazy. It's the tiny ones that we have seen. It scales just like the rest do. It's just built a little bit different. So starting with the feet are on ball joints, knees are locked. Now what they did here is usually the chest piece that they put up for mechs where it folds up, those cover the knees. They have giant knee pads that they've got going on here to cover this guy up, extra protection and stuff. The hips, they are on ball joints as well, has a lot of maneuverability about. The shoulders on this thing, ball joints as well. Elbows are locked, but wrists are not. Wrists are hands, or whatever you want to call them. They have clips to be able to hold the larger katanas that we had talked about previously. It's the same on each side, not anything wild and crazy. But the cockpit of this thing. So the cockpit, he is standing up here, and it's got a dragon head, some really gorgeous printing on the side, and that kind of flamish orangish yellow, which is his color. There is a 2x2 round tile that is printed, which I thought was really bizarre to get that. So it folds up, it holds him into place. It just looks really scary. It looks like a kaiju or something like that from Pacific Rim movies. It's really cool. You can get this thing into a lot of different poses, obviously, because of so much maneuverability in the joints and stuff like that. You can really get this thing into a fun tack position. I'm tripping over my words today for some reason. Now on the back side of this, it's kind of ugly. It's kind of naked. There is a reason for that. You have this big, ugly 2x4 brick that is just hanging out back there, and you're like, why did they do this? They ruined the mech. You will find out. So let's move on to the big one. The big one here kind of reminds me of the Oni Titan we got years back. It kind of goes with, I think it was Master Wu's mech. And the biggest thing is the giant disc that is on the top of this head, because it doesn't actually close in like a real cockpit. It's open air, so not a big fan of that, but that's just my personal preference. This thing does stand pretty tall. It stands just about a foot tall, and it's built very thickly. There's a lot here, and part of that reason, again, we'll find out here in a moment. So let's go ahead and start with the feet. The feet are really, really weird. It looks like he's wearing like picnic benches for shoes. It's really, really weird, and I can't get over it. It's a big hang up for me. They use the 1x4 brick that has the little ridges. You usually see them with like log cabins or something like that to give some kind of texture on something, or fences. It's just really kind of weird to see, but it's just kind of bizarre. I don't feel like it's the most secure at times when you pose it, but it's not the end of the world. So the ankle joints, they are on balls as well. They can only go side to side. They cannot go forward and back, basically because of the size of this mech. You have some light bluish gray down there, and obviously the brown for the picnic table or picnic bench feet that he's got going on. I wonder if Nike can get in on that with some picnic bench shoes. I don't think so. I don't think those will sell very well. Moving up into the knees, believe it or not, the knees are not locked. I know you thought I was going to say locked. They are not locked, which was a big win for me with this mech. I love the fact that I can maneuver this thing around in a whole different way because those knees are not locked. Now, on the side of the knees, we have more discs that we have here, tops of like umbrellas or whatever you want to call them. And then we have this weird kind of roll bar frame around the front of the knees. Really, really odd. By the way, this fits Lloyd's color profile with the dark green, the dark foresty green with the gold. I just feel like sometimes gold is overdone with Ninjago and some of the other stuff. I really wish the LEGO would just kind of cool it just a little bit. It's just kind of weird. So moving up to the hips, the hip joints are on on click joints. They can rotate forward and backward, inward and outward. You're lucky if you can get more than a click. I was not able to get more than a click, which is fine. It's not a problem whatsoever. Then where the abdominal region begins, because it's kind of weird, you go from hip area into like this weird empty space, then up to like the chest. Like there is no abdomen here. It's kind of weird. But another click joint here to be able to bend forward or backward. You can get him kind of looking down at the ground, which I thought was kind of creepy. Honestly, it feels weird for a mech to do something like that, but hey, whatever. Then we get up to the cabin, the area where he is sitting, the cockpit, whatever you want to call it here. And, nothing too wild and crazy in here. It does have two little sticks for controls, although they are just on the 1x1 round tile, where it's just that tiny little bar sticking up out of there. The joints for the shoulders are actually pretty good click joints. Again, you can get those arms way up there, get it into an attack stance. They rotate forward and backward, but not a whole lot, partially because of the things that we're going to talk about here in a moment that help. It's the shoulder pauldrons, the giant pauldrons that they have here, which are very bizarre. The elbows are on click joints as well, so you can maneuver those about. Then we move down to the wrists. The wrists can rotate around, but they cannot go forward or backward. They just rotate around. You do have 5 fingers, believe it or not. There are 4 that can bend in, and then the thumb goes up and down. It can't really bend any other way. It can't. It's just clipped into place. Then we have some Technic pins on the inside of the hands, again, to hold weapons. And in this case, we have a giant long sword that is going on here with it's like some kind of scarab blade that they have on the end here in gold. The handle is all black for the most part. And on the very back of this, we have another kind of weird looking blade that actually moves about like it would if it were a tassel at the bottom of it, a sword or some kind of staff. So that's kind of unique in its own right. So there are 3 different spots on this sword that you can Technic pin it in. So if you want to have it in 2 hands, there's a way to do it in 2 hands. If you want it in 1 hand, there's a way to do it with 1 hand. So I like that design idea. I thought that was really cool to be able to have that. So you do have that decision-making ability to, do I want this or do I not? So let's go ahead and talk about these shoulder pauldrons, because this is a big bugaboo of mine. It's just weird. So I have these big kind of Technic skin pieces. When I say skin, I'm thinking like if you've ever built a Technic model and they're kind of covering all of the inward frame and stuff like that. We have these in the darker brown nougat color, and it's on a ball joint. They can actually be turned inward and outward. And then there's a ball joint that connects it just behind the shoulder socket, which is kind of odd. They just kind of hang down a little bit. You can get them to move about, depending in the position that you put everything else between the shoulders and the elbows. And, it's just kind of weird. I don't quite understand what was going on there, but you have one on each side. And they just kind of are what they are. They have some chains hanging from them, which I'm sure you probably just heard them jangling around. So the cool thing about this is you can get your mech, Aaron's mech, you can get Aaron's mech into this mech, and you've got this big behemoth of a mech, which feels kind of weird. So what you do is you take his feet of Aaron's mech and you bend them 100% downward. And remember I told you we had these weird roll bars around the outside of the knee, in front of the knee? Well, you tuck those babies in there, and that weird, ugly spot of having that 2x4 brick on the back Well, here's the good news. What that does is that Technic pins into the mech, so you actually do have support there, and then you just maneuver the arms about so that everything just fits nice and tidy and stuff like that. So you can get him into his mech, Lloyd is in his mech, and you have this big behemoth of a crazy wild animal, and here's where it felt very much like a Power Rangers Dinozord, and I didn't really watch much past the first 2 seasons, so I don't know all the other ones, but having that head on the center of Aaron's mech really looks kind of cool, sticking out of the chest, very much like a Power Rangers Dinozord or, something similar to that. So it's a very unique set. It is a big set. It is a bulky set. I love the way that you can get this thing posed. Before I started doing the review on this episode, I had it sitting out on my desk away from everything else just because I love the way it looked, and I had it in a pretty cool attack pose. It's a really neat thing to be able to take a toy like this and just get it into that position. Me, being a action figure guy to a certain degree with certain things that I like, I really appreciate the ability that the knees finally bend. And the thing about the knees is they are solid. They actually have quite a bit of clutch, so there's not that slippage that you have to worry about, which is a huge thing. So far out of these sets, I think everything is turning out pretty well. You heard my complaints about the big, ugly kind of shoulder pauldron pieces in the way that they don't really connect, and they're just kind of weird. And here's the other thing: if they don't rest against the forearms or something like that to a certain way, they slip down in the rear on that ball joint because it's only one ball joint in the rear that is holding them to the mech. Not a big fan of it. So I could do without. I mean, you could take them off 100% and the mech would still look okay. And I don't think I'm going to do that, but it would definitely be one of those things that would look much better. So that is going to wrap up this episode. Remember, if you are looking to go to Chicago Brick World this year, it is June 17th and 18th. You can get your tickets in the link below in the show description. I say below, you're like, below where? In the show description. Follow that. Use the code BRICKSKING, all capitalized. BRICKSKING. That'll save you $4 off of your admission ticket. But again, they are single day registration tickets only, not registration, but single day passes only. But hey, save money where you can and enjoy it. So that's going to do it for this episode. Until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's belt on it.